Hey everyone, I didn't know if I wanted to do this video or not, but I've just been seeing enough that I feel like I'm going to do it anyway. I'm just afraid that someone's going to take it and twist it into something that it's not. But I've watched so many creators saying that it doesn't make sense for anyone that's in their 30s or 40s to use an excuse of they aren't exposed to the culture or they don't know enough about it, and that it's 2025 and nobody in America should not understand the disparities and should not be knowledgeable about other cultures and what happens and the insensitivities that there are. And I have to disagree. I think it's ignorant that there are people that don't understand that there are areas in America that are very non-diverse, and there's a lot of things that are learned from childhood that turn us into ignorant adults. I live in a small town about an hour and a half away from where Clue lives. And even between like where Chico lives in Memphis and then the Nashville area, Gallatin, Hendersonville, there are very big differences even between those two cities that are in the same state, pretty close to each other in the culture, in the environment, in what's acceptable and what happens in the city. So I'm about an hour and a half away from Clue. And after seeing the comments that Clue left in JB's chat, I feel like I understand where they came from. I feel like that there is a portion of that is ignorance from growing up somewhere where you aren't exposed to diversity and you grow up learning stereotypes. And that's all you ever know. You aren't really exposed to anything else. I live in a very small town, and I've said this in another video. I have a county that's 45 minutes away from me that is all Caucasian, has an all Caucasian festival yearly. Things like that happen. Where I live now, my children go to a school where there is 4 students that are non-Caucasian, and that's it. We are in a poverty county that is very non-diverse. So they grow up from kindergarten to graduation, 12th grade, not being exposed to any other cultures, any other races. It's very sheltered. And even if you're not directly taught racism from your parents, you are constantly surrounded by people that are pushing stereotypes, implying stereotypes, and that's what you pick up and learn as you grow. Now, my youngest child, we lived in a subdivision where part of it was one county and the other half was another county. One county was more diverse than the one we live in, but not super diverse. However, we were lucky that we lived next to a mixed couple. The mom was white, the dad was black, the child was mixed, and he was the same age as my son. So my youngest son grew up with him as a best friend, and he actually witnessed firsthand how he got treated differently, how he was ignored, how he was talked about. So of my kids, he is probably the most exposed to that and understanding and sees the disparities firsthand with his friend. I now feel very guilty for not speaking to them more about racism and about the disparities that happen between races and cultures and ethnicities. And I just didn't think about it. You know, it's a very selfish thing that I was never exposed to it and didn't witness a lot of it firsthand. So I didn't think about talking to them about it as they grew up. It wasn't in my face, so I didn't address it. I don't watch the news because it makes me anxious. So I also kind of had blinders on and was very ignorant, and I should have been teaching my children about it, but I didn't. I grew up very similar in the school that I went to in high school. There was only 2 other non-Caucasian students, and they were cousins, actually. I was good friends with the female. We played softball together. We hung out together. And I noticed something, that when she was at school and with us, she was very different than when she was with her family, and she was more relaxed and herself. And now as an adult, when I look back on that, I think how horrible that was for her, that she felt like she had to be a different person to fit in with us. And she couldn't relax and be herself like she was around her family, that she had to come into school every day and be this person that she thought would fit in with the rest of us, and had to pretend every day to be somebody that wasn't actually her true self. And that really sucks. I didn't see it growing up, but now that I look back, I do. And it's terrible. I can't imagine having to be that way. And when you grow up in an area like this where you're not exposed to it, you don't see it, what happens is you kind of soak it in from people. It's not that people are in your face using the N-word and saying direct things about it. It's that everywhere you are, it is the stereotype that is implied, that is talked about, that you hear. It's not ever just like direct, bashing and name calling, but it's this stereotype. And that stereotype is, and I hate this, and I hate even saying it, but this was the ignorance that I grew up in. All of that was ingrained in us growing up just from the stereotypes that were pushed upon us. And that's kind of whenever I saw Clue's comments, what I saw her saying were things that were ingrained upon me growing up as stereotypes being pushed upon us. And I will 1,000% admit that I was ignorant. At one point in my life, I was very ignorant. And how that changed was whenever I went into hospice nursing and I was going into homes to take care of patients of all different races, cultures, ethnicities. And I was forced to learn by being exposed to it. And I'm so glad. I'll never forget one of my favorite patients was a Black patient that I had with pancreatic cancer. And my area that I was assigned was the downtown of the city that we live in. And I was intimidated. I'm not going to lie. I was an area that was not a great area, and I didn't know what to expect because I hadn't ever been around that. And the things that I learned from him, I'm so grateful for, and I will carry with me forever. And it made me realize exactly how ignorant I was. So I'll never forget some of the first visits to him. I hate to admit this. I was scared getting out of my car and walking up there because there was an apartment complex with a lot of people out and about. But I went in and started talking to him, and he was just the nicest guy. And I learned some very valuable things. I actually got fired from that family, and it was because I had gone to him, and he was telling me that he was eating a lot and he was losing weight, and he didn't understand why, and wanted some medication to help him gain weight. And I told him, like I do all my patients, we expect you to lose weight. Your body is using all its energy to fight the cancer, so you're not going to put on weight. And at some point, we're going to expect you to lose your appetite because your body's energy is going towards fighting cancer. It doesn't have enough energy to digest. And he didn't seem upset. I left. At the end of the day, I went into the office. My supervisor called me in and said, the sister wants you fired. She doesn't want you going back there. And I was shocked. I was like, why? And she said they were very upset with you. You were too blunt with him. He was very upset by it. They don't like the way you talk to him. You were taking away his hope, and they don't want you back. And I was crushed. I felt horrible. I really liked him. I thought we got along great. And I said this to everybody, so I didn't understand. So I did research. I tried to learn things, and I learned that speaking directly about death is kind of a taboo subject. Be direct like that. I learned that after death, whenever I would go to clean the bodies, a lot of the times those families wanted to help clean the bodies. It's a very family oriented. There's a warmth in those homes when those families are all together. That is amazing. And I learned so much, and I learned that I was truly ignorant. I had a patient that was Amish. I learned about that. There was just different races, different things that I was so ignorant to. And I completely got my mind changed and learned truly how ignorant I was by exposure. And I feel like if I can unlearn those stereotypes by being exposed to the truth, other people can do the same. How do we know people can't change and grow if we don't give them the opportunity to? If we just shut them down and declare that they're a lost cause and nothing's going to change, how do we know? I'm telling you that there are people in 2025 that are not exposed to different races and cultures. They are ignorant, and the only way to help this is exposure and teaching. I could go through our community and find so many racial microaggressions. It's unreal, and people don't ever look at that and realize what is happening, and we don't ever call that out. And I don't think people understand the point that I'm trying to get across with this. Okay? I understand that people view what Clue said, and they're always going to think she's racist, and they're not going to change their mind, and that's fine and great. You have your right to your opinion. I'm going to say that I'm going to show proof, but in JB's chat, Grizzly True Crime is in JB's chat. CPS Laura is in JB's chat saying that JB is the male version of her. Nobody has still addressed K9 Jules being in that chat, BJ's Mod Southern Sass being in that chat, and I haven't gone through them all. I'm sure there's more. And maybe they weren't making the same comments, but if you listen to JB, and I've heard y'all say this, if you're in his chat, you agree with his viewpoints. So you going to say that about Grizzly? Just something to think about. I don't know. But BJ is currently putting out the same rhetoric, hate-filled extremist rhetoric. And I guess in these people's views that keep wanting to go live about Clue over and over and over, I guess that they think that racism is worse than transphobia. Because BJ has been spouting transphobia for over a year now, and there's no outrage about that. None. It's like, that's okay. And you see her doing this repeatedly and continued, but it's okay because she's a victim. Like, I don't understand how Clue's remarks in February of 2024 are more egregious than everything that BJ has put out over the past year and a half and continues to put out. She still calls nonsense man-sense and sees nothing wrong with it. She has a mod that says transgender doesn't exist because God produced ovaries and testicles and there's nothing in between. And people can't be transgender because there's no such thing. And that stays in her chat, and it's a mod. But we're going to overlook that, right? In my eyes, hate is hate. Whether it be someone's religion, whether it be someone's race, whether it be someone's ethnicity, whether it be someone's sexual preference or gender, none of that should be tolerated. It should all be called out and addressed. And then whoever wants to continue with those people, that's their decision. They shouldn't be shamed for it. They shouldn't be called out every day and made to feel bad a year and a half after it happens because suddenly people feel sorry for someone. So suddenly it's all being brought up again and a big deal again. And creators are being called fake and hypocrites and all of this because at one time they spoke against it. And then they quit following her for a matter of time, watched and saw that it wasn't repeat behavior. Then you have BJ over here repeating the behavior over and over, speaking things like her man in the back saying blatantly he's anti-Islam, posting things about Muslims. And in this time, in this period, in this country, none of that should be said. That is extremist views, and it's dangerous. And I'm upset because all this is coming out again. Why? I don't understand why. Because BJ's getting called out for what her man is saying. Like, BJ's been called out for the transphobia every time it happened. She got called out for the comment about her daughter's eyes. Like, she gets called out as it happens. The difference is Clue isn't continuing it. BJ is. So yeah, we're still going to call it out. And for y'all to sit over there and say that them saying a professional white person or is not racist. Okay. So why do you have to say white in there? Why can't you say professional person? If somebody got on there and said, act like a professional black person, act like a professional Asian person, that's going to be okay? No. The fact that he had to put white in there, along with everything else he had just said, a disgrace to our people. That's not talking about Southern people. Come on. Y'all are North Carolina. You're not Southern. This is not a Southern thing. And people really are defending that. I'm amazed. I'm not defending what Clue said. It was wrong. It was wrong. I'm not defending it. But y'all are going to take these comments from Craig and try to make it okay somehow. He says to Cletus, F you and everyone who bred you. Like, y'all can't see. And then you watch his channel and see all this hate rhetoric that he spills. And we're okay with that because we hate Clue. And so you all hate Clue. Great. Call her out. Do what you do. Quit shaming the people that watch her. I come on here as a break from real life stress. And I laugh more in her streams than a lot of places. And it is nice. We have just gotten to where we have a group of creators that get along and we can go wherever we want and be happy and have fun and talk about things. And it's not all about BJ. It is not. People want to focus on that. It is not. Because BJ makes it seem like it's so much worse than it is. And like she's the only person that's ever gone through this. Not to mention BJ claims to be true crime. You blatantly heard her say she didn't cover Summer's case because it didn't make her enough money. It's obvious every true crime case she covers is because of the money. And that's all she's worried about is numbers and money. But we're not going to address that. We've now all forgotten that this whole injunction was done under Sebastian's name. And it was frivolous and the court has decided that. But we're still going to support her doing true crime. It's all good. We don't like Granny, so. Yeah. The hate bonding crap that goes on around here is unreal. Heck, they talk on the stream. They disagree with each other on the stream. You know, Granny disavowed the showing BJ's house. You know, Clue said that she claimed her own dogs, and so it was her fault, and it was. And you can't keep roping everybody into this. The person that called CPS was someone from BJ's camp that she had ticked off, who she had emails saying they were going to call CPS. And that was a whole separate thing. When that name came out, most of us had no idea who Dark Horse was. Had no clue, because that was one of her people. And that's the same person that called the welfare check, because she saw concerning behavior on that live stream. And I've got a clip, a short, showing how she was acting that morning. I can understand someone being concerned. I don't agree with calling the welfare check, but I see the concern, where the concern could be. And that too was Dark Horse. That was not our community. And she never said she was influenced by the streams that were being done. She was influenced by her past with BJ and what she was seeing on the screen. And as far as her house being posted, that was done by an individual on X that I didn't even know who that was. And probably nobody would have seen it if BJ hadn't claimed it, because the picture of the house had no identifying information around it. BJ goes live, claims it, and then has her mods dropping the link to that post over and over for hours in her chat. I saw that person go from 30 followers to 300 in a matter of hours, just because of what BJ was advertising it. Was it right? No. But you can't blame that on a whole community. Her children had been in a short on her true crime channel for years. Yeah, they had a filter on and the video was playing, but the thumbnail that you see did not have a filter on it. You could see her child. Okay. And they were in the background of some of her videos. We saw them. I don't care what anybody thinks. She exploits those children. If you had heard everything I have heard going through her live streams to get clips, if I made a video of all of those excerpts of what I heard, people would be shocked. And you would agree with me that she exploits those children. BJ is currently damaging creators, subs, friendships, true crime cases, using the legal system to get revenge under a missing child's name, promoting extremism and hate and transphobia currently. That is what she is being called out for. And every creator she has done something to individually. And she started it. This isn't a dog pile. This is BJ attacking multiple people during the Sebastian case, and it all coming back to her. Because she buddied up to Seth, and she got very offended if anybody said anything negative. So she started lashing out, and she gathered all of these people going against her on her own. And she can't admit when she's wrong. She can't take accountability for anything in her life. So she's going to continue to have people calling her out. Please quit shaming people for who they watch. We are aware of what Clue said. We are aware of what BJ says. BJ is doing this on her main true crime channel still to this day. And people overlook it. Clue did this a year and a half ago on another channel. Hasn't done it again. And that's getting called out still today. And again, I grew up being ignorant. I would still be probably pretty ignorant if I hadn't taken the job I did and been exposed to the things I was. And I'm still ignorant about certain things. I still want to learn more. I love listening to Chico because I learn things that I don't know because I wasn't exposed to them. Because when you grow up hearing stereotypes from family and friends and teachers and never being exposed to anything different, how are you supposed to know differently? How are you supposed to change if people condemn you? People can change. People can grow. I know because I did it. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful that I'm not as ignorant as I was. That's all. There's probably tons more I could say, and I don't know if this even came across as offensive or not, but it's just the truth. It's the truth of what I've experienced and the feeling I got when I read the comments from Clue, and the fact that I saw so many other people, creators in that chat that haven't been addressed, and the fact that BJ is still doing this stuff on her channel and nobody addresses it anymore. And they seem to categorize racism above transphobia, homophobia, anti-Islam, all that stuff. It's all hate. It's all wrong. And some people have stopped, and some continue, and some deny it. Some people still can't take accountability for anything they say. And like I said before, I don't know why this whole Clue thing is being played over and over again right now, what brought it back up, but I just needed to get this off my chest because this is truly what I see and what I experienced. I hope this wasn't offensive to anyone. I honestly didn't mean for it to be. And if I said anything wrong, please let me know. I am always willing to learn and grow and understand. I hope everybody has a great week this week, and I'll try to get some videos released. I just needed to get this off my chest. Thank you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.